Okay, here we are. This is Chapter 20, The Tragedy at Sea. Ooh, yeah. So, we open up, we got a partial, double-page spread here. It doesn't look too bad, the binding. Like, it's definitely present, but it doesn't look too bad. And, yeah, it's a week later now, and Jonathan and Zappelli are training. Jonathan is wearing, you don't really get too great of a look at it, but it's some sort of, like, sleeveless shirts, I guess, it looks like there are sleeves, but they're like rolled up or something. And yeah, he's wearing some sort of boot things with the little button things on the side, maybe some trousers. He's looking pretty good. Zappelli's got his trademark checkerboard hat now, which he looks great in. He has is that a bow tie? Yeah, it's a bow tie. It's got like a bow tie, and there's like something going on. Again, we don't really get that great of a look at what he's wearing either, which is really, really unfortunate and kind of almost seems out of place. But, anyways, they're training in this little creek here, and, yeah, Jonathan's been learning the ins and outs of Hamon from Zappelli, and in this scene, they're reaching out their arms, and Jonathan's is noticeably longer. His reach is a lot longer than Zappelli's. So they go to punch each other at the same time, but Zappelli beats him and punches him before he can punch Zappelli. And like, there's this panel that looks really interesting, or it's like it's showing his fist going forward. And it's like his collar is going, the collar thing of his sleeve is going forward with him, but only that. So that kind of looks a little weird. And then there's this other panel where it looks like his hand is like knocking on a door, and he's like pulling it back. It's kind of, it looks funny to me. So that right there was the Zoom Punch, a trademark Hamon attack. It'll show us more on how that works later, but for right now, Zappelli is using this as a lesson for Jonathan to temper his Hamon better. We see there's this panel where, like, we can see the ripples coming off of Zappelli's feet in the water, but they aren't coming off of Jonathan's. And, yeah, Zappelli's taking the moment to chastise Jonathan. He's, like, hitting his head with his umbrella, and, yeah. He's saying anyone can breathe instinctually, but the real difference is in how you breathe. How you breathe is what causes Hamon to happen, basically. And, yeah, Jonathan's thinking to himself, why did I decide to fight Dio together with Zappelli? It's because of his tragic past. Yes, a past that shares something with mine. And yeah, we got a flashback. It's kind of weird. So it's kind of framed as like a flashback within a flashback. So it goes back to that first day, and we see they're wearing the same clothes they were on that first day. And then from there, it's another flashback into Zappelli's past. So I have a theory for this, by the way, especially regarding the consistency of their clothes. I think this chapter may have originally started with this scene, with like Zappelli telling Jonathan about the whole hoopla with him in the stone mask, and that this first scene with them doing the Zoom Punch was added later, because I'd imagine because Araki would have wanted us to see an example of their training. I mean, yeah, I think it works. Because, like, we see that, then we get the flashback, and then after that, we get a little more of them training. So it kind of breaks, it kind of has a break in the pacing there. But, yeah, so Zappelli, when he was young, he was born into a family of scholars, and he joined the archaeological team at his father's university and traveled all over the world. And one time they went to some Aztec ruins, and that's when they found the stone mask. And yeah, he was the one who excavated it. And as they were heading home, one of his colleagues' heads were ripped off, and that's because one of the crew members wore the stone mask and became a vampire. So, yeah, there is this panel with just a whole lot of text here. And yeah, it tells the story, it tells what's going on, but I feel like there could have been like panels showing these things as they were happening. I feel like that would have been way more engaging to the reader than just these walls of text. But yeah, there were 58 crew members on this ship, and they were all murdered except for him. And yeah, it's something. And yeah, one by one, they were all kind of killed off, and by the end of it, Zeppeli just jumped into the ocean to swim for his life, and the zombie chases after him, and that's when the sun rises, and it's here that Zeppeli reveals that the wearer of the stone mask was none other than his father, the captain. And yeah, I just want to mention Zeppeli, he's still standing in the water from last chapter when he's trauma dumping here. And it's just, standing shin deep in water is probably one of the last places I would feel like trauma dumping. I don't know about you, though, but yeah, I just think that's kind of weird, I guess. I would probably want to be like sitting down or at least standing on dry land or something. But yeah, then there's these couple of panels where we see Zeppeli crying and trembling, but above him, Jonathan just has like this complete whatever look. And I feel like that's not at all what Araki was trying to go for, because like the page before, he seems to be showing genuine concern for Zeppeli, but yeah, I don't know, he just looks like mildly irritated, like someone just like knocked into him or something. But yeah. Zeppeli explains that his father looked as if he had become younger, like around the same age as him at that time, and yeah, that would have been around his 20s, and then he saw his father vaporize in the sunlight, and that's how he knew the weakness had to be the sun. And we got this panel that, look at that. Look, he has absolute honkers. Look at that shit. Just, like, damn, put him away, slut. But yeah, he kind of just floats in the water for a few days, and then a boat finds him, and that's how he got onto dry land again. And yeah, that was how he found out about Hamon, and that's why he studied it, so he could put an end to the stone mask and all the ones who would deem fit to wear it. And I guess he somehow came to the same conclusion that the spires of the mask do something to the brain. The same thing Jonathan kind of came to, both in his notes and during the Youth with Dio arc, but like, I guess, cause we find out later that he joins that monastery with Tom Petty, but like, I think that's weird. I guess at the monastery they could have had knowledge on the stone mask and how it worked, and maybe that's how he knows. But I don't know. The whole thing kind of seems weird to me. That Zeppeli would know that it's that specifically that causes the vampirism to start. But yeah, he mentions again that Hamon and the mask are two sides of the same coin, and he shows an example. He throws a rock into the water, and then he asks Jonathan what must happen for that ripple to stop, the ripples in the water from the rock. And Jonathan's like, oh, well, I'll just use another ripple. So he throws another one in. And, yeah, it's kind of how they try to explain it. But I feel like the way they showed it last chapter with how, like, the Hamon could create life while we've seen the stone mask, the powers that it gives can take life. I feel like that does a much better job of showing the duality than this scene. Although I kind of understand it, because, like, it's showing that Hamon is a force, and the whole thing with vampirism is a force, and that you can kind of use them to, like, counteract each other in a sense. If that makes sense. Yeah. So then he points up at the sun. There's this weird perspective thing. Like, his right arm, the one that's pointing up, looks a little weird, but not as weird as his left arm. It's kind of like tucked away. It looks really, ooh, yeah. Then Jonathan's like, Baron Zeppel, you and I have similar kindred paths. Please teach me how to learn Hamon. And yeah, so the thing with that part, like, sure, there's similarities. They both lost their fathers to the stone mask, and they both had a loved one wear the stone mask and become a vampire. And yeah, like that's apparent. But like, I just feel like that kind of just got explained away when it didn't really need to be. And, yeah, Zappelli's like, I'd teach you even if I had to force you to learn. We're out of time, JoJo. Dio will fulfill the will of the mask. He will grow his numbers and attempt to rule the world. And his first target will be you. Oh, yeah, we now have a manga-only scene. Another manga-only scene. Oh, boy. Oh, jolly. So we like, before we cut to this, like, on the same page, I'm pretty sure this wasn't in the anime. We see, like, Zappelli patting Jonathan on the head, and it looks kind of cute, honestly. But yeah, we cut to this scene. Jonathan is meditating. He's wearing, I think, what he was at the beginning of the chapter before the flashback, and he has this cool little circlet on. He's got all these cuts. He looks badass. And, like, something I noticed for the first time only when I read this chapter for the review is, like, his right eyebrow is raised a little. As if like he's like, oh, what's that? Yeah, it's just, I don't know how I never noticed it. Because, like, I can't unsee it now. But, yeah, Jonathan's meditating, and it's Wang Chung. He's back, and he's a vampire now. So, I gotta wonder, because, like, he doesn't appear to be, like, a zombie, like the officers were. Maybe he's a zombie who got proper nutrition. Maybe that's what's going on. But it looks more like he is just his own vampire. Maybe not from the stone mask itself, maybe indirectly through Dio, because we see in part 3 with Vanilla Ice, he can kind of turn people into vampires just with his own blood. But, yeah, he's got these long finger blades, like Edward Scissorhands, and he's like, ooh, I'm gonna drink your blood, and I'll lick it all up. Every last drop with this speedy little tongue of mine. And, yeah, Zappelli's there, he's like, hey, keep your guard up, he has a weapon. And it's like, yeah, no shit, he's got a weapon. And this is when Jonathan does the Zoom Punch, and it's explained what exactly the Zoom Punch is. So what he does, he dislocates his joints, and he uses Hamon to, like, ease the pain. And, yeah, that's how the Zoom Punch works. And he goes and Zoom Punches Wang Chung. And he punches Wang Chung. And there's this weird panel where he sees both of his fists, and, like, his arm that has, like, the finger blade things is, like, going forward, but it's kind of weird to look at. Just really, really weird. But he does that, and it melts part of his face off. And, then Zappelli once again pats Jonathan on the head, and, congratulates him for a job well done, and that's the chapter. Yeah, so I kind of liked the little backstory with Sapelli, kind of because like he's just this random funny guy who just appeared out of nowhere. Now we know what his deal is, sort of, and yeah, I liked the part where he cried because it showed his humanity, showed his care for his father and his colleagues, and I thought that was a nice little touch too. That's pretty much it. I guess, yeah. And get to see them training. That was cool. That was pretty nifty. It's always good to see stuff happening. Yeah, yeah, yeah.